Hello, I'm Dr. Will Petersen, Director of Bands and Associate Professor of Music for Tuba and Euphonium here at the University of South Alabama. I'm here with you today to talk with you about the All-State Middle School Tuba Lyrical Etude from the Rubank Advanced Method for B-flat and E-flat tuba. This is number 6, and it's titled Andante with the quarter note equaling 84. The first thing that, as I prepare this, I want to take a look at is where am I going to breathe and how can I make sure that I'm keeping a full sound even at the piano level. So for me, really one of the biggest things that I would be looking at is where am I breathing, how am I going to keep that full sound, and how can I make sure that I can make these 4-bar phrases that are put in here and make those so that they're musical, even if I have to break them apart possibly with a breath. So we start out at the very beginning with this so you'll notice that you have 2 accents in the 4th measure. The first thing that I would pay attention to is making sure you use a soft tongue. I usually would use some type of dough tongue, and make sure you keep your air moving through as you go through. When you get to the 4th measure, you want to just, instead of really being a hard accent, just really almost kind of a lifted idea. So that you get that feeling of the accent, but you don't overplay it. As we move to the second line, you'll notice that you have a forte starting on the second measure on the D. And one of the things that I had to remind myself of is not to decrescendo so much that you don't have the ability to have that D speak well when you're playing it. So make sure that your decrescendo is even and balanced as you go through, but you allow yourself enough air and enough support that you can play that D with a great solid sound. Then you come into those next 2 measures, you actually have a softer setup where you should have kind of this dramatic difference between 2 measures before and the piano measure where you have the same exact lick except at different dynamics. So you kind of want to lead into that idea with the decrescendo, moving down to the beat 3D in the second measure of that, and then move from there, take that nice breath, lift, and then a little bit softer, and then pull away. But again, make sure that you have enough support as you go through. In the last 2 measures of the second line, you notice that we're a mezzo forte. Don't pull back too much until you get to the end of that second to last measure. And then the last measure, pull back a little bit. But make sure that you get a good breath leading into the forte that happens on the 3rd line. The next issue is if you find where the forte halfway through the 3rd line is listed, followed by legato, make sure that legato line is connected as possible as we play that. So keep that air moving through and make sure that you're keeping just a nice soft tongue as you go through there so that you get the difference between that forte legato tongue and where it comes back as a slur in the piano. As we get to the end, make sure that we're keeping our support and our airstream nice and rounded as we go through on that last 2 measures where you lead from the B-flat arpeggio and then come down the scale. And then make sure that when you get to that last B-flat that we're thinking about that release being almost like an H release. Do, do, so that you get a nice taper on the end. I hope these comments have been helpful to you, and best of luck in your preparation for All-State Alabama Middle School auditions coming up in just a couple months. Take care and best of luck.